Starmer, says Chaz in Sussex. Watching him turn on the Christmas lights, I've seen planks of wood with more personality. Well, here's a man with drippings of personality, the Sun's chief political correspondent. Good afternoon, Jack Elsom. Is he on the green? Hello? Love it.
Good afternoon, although it feels like good night because it's absolutely pitch black out here and quite chilly as well. But yeah, that's 4:30, isn't it, in a British winter?
Well, I was going to say, at least being pitch black, the bloke behind with the sign going, Jeremy Carl's a whatever, you won't be able to see it. How are you, Jack? You all right? We were out with your boss on Monday, Mr. Cole. We had a lovely lunch, but much to talk about. Where do you want to start? I want to talk actually about Sue Gray. I mean, has she got dirt on Starmer? Because you're offering her peerage for about, I don't know, 60 days' work, and I always thought, maybe I'm wrong, that the House of Lords should be for people who've given something, not as a sweetener to say, sorry, everything will be fine, love.
Well, I'm sure she definitely knows where the bodies are buried. Listen, to play devil's advocate for a moment, she definitely did have a long and distinguished career in the civil service, I think about 3 decades worth as a Mandarin on Whitehall. However, I think that people will be quite alarmed by the suggestion that she could get a peerage. One, because after she was the main inquisitor to the Boris Johnson Partygate investigation, the whole point of her being appointed was that she had burnished a reputation as a sort of no-nonsense, down-the-middle, completely impartial official. She then shot that reputation to tatters when it transpired that she was going to work for the leader of the opposition then, and then the Prime Minister. And then secondly, as well as that whole reputation blowing up for impartiality, she didn't actually grip the number 10 machine as she was expected to do. Her one job during the election campaign, she wasn't really doing the day-to-day electioneering. Her job was to be planning for life in government when Labour were expected to win that general election. And they got in, and it transpired that actually the first 100 days hadn't been planned out. There wasn't a coherent grid of announcements. She upset a lot of Labour Party staffers by not giving them contracts straight away, put a lot of noses out of joint, got locked into factional infighting within Downing Street with Morgan McSweeney, the Prime Minister's now Chief of Staff, left that job, got offered a bit of a non-job as envoy to the nations and regions. She then decided she didn't want to do that job. So to give her a peerage, I think that most people will think, actually, you know, she might have served for quite a long time, but is this really the sort of person we want in the House of Lords? Maybe not.
I think that as somebody who didn't agree with the fact that you go from being the head of the civil service, investigating one prime minister and one government, to it finds out that you're working for the opposition. I think she's got her just desserts, mate. I'm sorry, I genuinely do. I don't think her credence in political standards and standing remains. I think she lost that. Couple of quick things, Jack, because I know you're busy. Whitehall, working from home, those lazy buggers in the Treasury and Housing and Justice, working from home has increased under Starmer. Unbelievable, shocking, not really. That's not, again, I don't think that's a great message. I know there's certain people who will say it's a good thing, but I feel that that's another thing that people will take advantage of. What do you reckon?
Yeah, completely. I mean, it's been a massive problem since the pandemic. Whitehall, for a lot of it, and so especially some departments, has been a bit of a ghost ship, really. And the Tories were trying to get this back on track, and they had this edict where 3 out of 5 days a week you had to be in the office as a minimum. Jonathan Reynolds, the business secretary, a few months ago did an interview with The Times where he said that actually they're not going to enforce that. And so that's a pretty big signal to civil servants. They didn't have to come in that many days a week. And also Labour's employment rights bill, at the heart of that is flexible working. And so they can't be putting a bill in place, you know, for saying that people are allowed to work from home.
I love the civil servants their bill says
5 days a week.
I love their bill says flexible working, and their bill says let's tax anybody that sets up a private business. I don't know how they possibly imagine that growth is going to happen. Let's destroy the private sector with tax rises. Let's say to anybody who's working for the government, you don't have to come in, to be perfectly honest. Don't worry, we're more interested in how you feel. I don't understand how that increases productivity for the nation, pal.
Oh, definitely. And, you know, tying up businesses in red tape. I mean, they keep saying, Labour, that their one mission in this government is economic growth. You know, they wanted the fastest growth of the G7. They wanted a higher GDP growth than places like America. Well, it seems that tomorrow, in this Plan for Change speech, which Keir Starmer is giving, they're going to slightly back away from that promise. Because remember at the budget, the OBR growth forecast figures were abysmal, absolutely awful. And so even with all this investment in infrastructure and clean power, which Labour say they're going to generate, the growth figures are pretty dire at the moment. And one thing which isn't going to help was wrapping up businesses in all kinds of red tape and then taxing them to the hill. So they've got a real problem now, and they've got a real uphill struggle to try and prove to the British public and to businesses that actually they are pro-growth, because that was something which they tried to burnish during the election. Very pro-business, very pro-growth. The budget seemed anything but, and so they've got a mountain to climb to get back that reputation.
Final thing, from news from yesterday, but I wanted your reaction. I saw him on Mike Graham's Morning Glory. Conservative Home founder Tim Montgomerie, the voice of Toryism, really Tories for 33 years, created Home Front, personal advisor to Boris Johnson in the past. I thought that was pretty seismic. We've got Andrea Jenkins, who defected to Reform earlier in the week to stand as their candidate in the Lincolnshire area as mayor. She's on at 6 o'clock. But the Tim Montgomerie thing, I think, would have shocked people inside the Tory party, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. He's been a very powerful voice in Conservative circles for probably about 2 decades now, maybe even longer. Famously went into Boris Johnson's Downing Street as an advisor and is now jumping ship for Reform. And he is just the latest of many people to defect Nigel Farage's party. A lot of people almost see Nigel Farage, although he's obviously been around for a while, they almost see him as the future when it comes to the right of British politics. Now, listen, obviously, it's hard to, it's easy to overestimate, I think, people going to Reform. While lots of people are, you know, you haven't seen genuinely big names make the jump yet. But, you know, as Nigel Farage heads up in the polls, if he gets this big donation from Elon Musk and they can properly professionalise as a party, then maybe we'll see some more people going to his banner. OK,
I've just been told on my ear we've got to leave it there, but we're going to get you back every hour to stand in the cold at 5:20. Jack Elsom, you're a legend. Thanks for coming on. This is Talk Drive.